Hello, this is Dan again. Um, Still having some thoughts on my hobby stock engine. I was thinking about building a 283, and I was thinking that because the valves size in a small bore engine is really limited, and the 283 has a 3 7/8 inch bore that can't run very big valves in the heads. That limits airflow. And one of the key things in building horsepower is airflow. The engine has to flow air, lots of it. The other big key thing is that you need compression ratio. This is a airflow limited engine by design. For the rules, they limit us to a 500 CFM 2-barrel Holley carburetor and a cast iron intake manifold. So it's tough to get very much airflow through one of these engines. Again, I was thinking the 283 might be able to use that airflow quite well, but I'm starting to have doubts on the idea, and that 305 Chevy heads just aren't going to flow what my camel hump heads will flow with the bigger valves. And the bigger valves are going to restrict me, so to speak, to a 4-inch bore. So, and keeping with the smaller engine idea, that puts me squarely in the realm of a 302 or a 327. I'm trying to avoid the 350 or 383 or even a 400, because I'm trying to get this engine to spin high RPMs and build horsepower up higher than everybody else on the track. Probably the same horsepower, but at a higher RPM, and I intend to use more gear in the rear axle. And I've really been looking at 302, building that. But I have a standard bore 327 block that I could use with one of my 283 crankshafts. But I'm not finding 302 pistons in the standard bore. Everybody has them listed as overbores only, and so I haven't found any yet. And I have had the idea of using a high compression 327 piston, which I can find in standard bores, built for a 6-inch connecting rod. And because the stroke is an 1/8 inch shorter, or sorry, a 1/4 inch shorter, I can use an 1/8 inch longer connecting rod. So 327 piston for a 6-inch connecting rod, but I use a 6 1/8 inch connecting rod with a shorter 3-inch stroke. It all works out to be the same height and as you would want, but some other thoughts. It's harder to build a lot of compression in the 302 than it is the 327. You can build more compression in a 327. It's easier because of the long stroke. It's what I would do would be a similar process I was just describing, but only using a 350 piston for a 6-inch rod, and then using a 6 1/8 inch connecting rod in the 327. So having a 3 3/4 inch stroke, 6 1/8 inch rod, and a 350 piston built for the 6-inch rod, but use a 6 1/8 rod. The 350 piston has several advantages. It has a shorter skirt, and so it's lighter. I've been looking at the difference between a 327 and a 350 piston, and they're right around 100 grams lighter for the 350. Also, 350 pistons easily are found in standard bores, and they have a large selection of domes, and you can find quite a large dome and I've been doing some calculations, and it looks like I get 12.69 to 1 compression ratio in my 327. If I could afford a 6 1/4 inch long connecting rod, you could do the same with the 3-inch stroke. Use a 350 piston built for a 600 or 6-inch rod, and use a 6 1/4 inch long connecting rod and the 3-inch stroke of a 302/283. But those are quite expensive for the small journal crankshafts. A lot. They're like $1,200 a set. But they're not too bad for the 6 1/8 inch rod. They're like $600 a set. An advantage of the 350 piston is that the 350 has a 3.4 inch stroke crank, and it's not a true 1/4 inch shorter stroke to go down to the 327. So it's actually 2/10 of an inch, or 2/100 rather, 2/100 of an inch, 0.02 inches shorter stroke. And so this puts the piston at top dead center 1/10 of an inch, or 1/100 of an inch, 10/1000 of an inch further up in the bore, which cuts down your deck. Typically you have a deck height of about 25 thousandths. Your piston will be down in the hole 25 thousandths. I've even seen 29 thousandths before. And well, this reduces that by 10/1000ths of an inch. It helps you build compression. And again, the 4-inch bore works well with the camel hump heads. It doesn't restrict airflow. And the 327 is in the realm of what I'm trying to do. It's a smaller engine, not as small as I'd like to do, but I would really like to do the 302, but I just can't seem to afford it. The pistons for the 302 are heavier. The connecting rod is a little more difficult to find one. If I use a 350 piston, it's quite difficult. It's just not quite as much compression. I would like to build as much compression as I can, and I was looking at 12.5 to 1 or more, which I think would really help out. I can get the airflow out of the heads and the compression using the 350 piston and the 327. Again, it's not the ideal size I wanted. I really would love to find something in the 283 to 302 size range with a 4-inch bore, but there's just not a crankshaft to do that, and not that I can find that I can afford. Let me know what you think. I'm trying to compete against bigger engines, but with more RPM. So what my idea is here: use more RPM, more gearing, get more acceleration coming out of the corners by coming out of the corner in a higher RPM to begin with, and with more gear, and having a hard, stronger charge down the straightaways. Also be good on dry slick tracks because less wheel spin coming out of the corners, less torque. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'm still thinking on this. I've got a 283 to pull a crankshaft out of and look at that, but I'm kind of leaning towards the 327. 302 pistons are true 302 pistons are quite hard to find. There's not many of them out there, and they're heavy, and they're just, I haven't found any in standard bores. I'd have to find a 327 block and that needs a bore and bore it. Mine does not need a bore. It's got great looking bores in it, and it's standard still. So I don't want to bore that. I know I'm rambling on here. Let me know what you think, please. Have a great day. Have a great night.